All right, you made it this far. I congratulate you, men and women who are listening. I am at honor that you have decided to come this far in this series, because I have other special questions that's going to blend into answers. You need to understand this, because it's not going to do anything but help you. I'm not saying anything to hate anyone. Now listen carefully. Another question that was given to me was by, of course, an older man who is dating a younger lady. He chimed in and asked me a question. He said, why is it that a lot of people, and especially older women, hate or dislike older men dating younger women? I have been called a pedophile. I have been called a cradle robber. I have been called a pervert. I have been called all sorts of unnecessary things that I am not. And all I wanted was a youthful, fertile woman that I could spend time with, pass on my legacy, and she will not be old no time soon. Mr. Morpheus, you are the one with the twisted red pill. And I know that you can answer this differently than the other YouTubers. Please explain to this. I will receive. Thank you for your good work and the job that you do with saving men and women, which is uniquely available to all of us, is amazing, and you have done a great job. Thank you for your parameters, LOL, because you are installing truth and wisdom in our country. And we need this. It's time and day. Hopefully you have received my Patreon, and I am a constant supporter of you. That's thank you very much. I couldn't say anything to that. I'm going to introduce you to something that first of all, there are program men who is behind this as well. My emailer. I am going to say, yes, thank you for your support, and I appreciate what you said, and that helps me to move forward. I'm glad at least a few of you are listening. All right. But some of you who are listening to the sound of my voice are aware of some video games. You are aware of animations. You've watched movies since maybe the 90s, the 80s, so forth. Okay. So this might be familiar to you, and it might tickle your fancy as well. The programming was in all those systems. It's in the games. It's in your animation movies, and it's still in movies today, because men and women is behind this. Blue pill beta simps. Okay. Donkeys. They're behind it as well as it is your women or your feminists or whatever you want to label them to be. They're there to promote and to produce this CD that you watch for entertainment, whether for your teenagers or maybe for you, and definitely your video games. That's been the biggest thing. In men video games, in your manhood, in your man cave, there are video games that have these programmings installed in it from a group of so-called engineers, or you could say artists, who create these video games, and they come up with scenarios. They come up with their voice actors and dialogues that they implement in these systems. And I'm going to expose one of them, and I'm going to let you do your own research with this. And you'll see it for yourself. It's going to flabbergast you. Okay, then I can get further into discussion. But before I do that, I'm going to destroy you real fast with another red pill, according to Men Questions Part 2, when I discussed about the elders and the things that they're not doing. Yes, I've sat in counsel with them where their only arguments, when I have brought that to their attention, as far as the things that they aren't going to get respect for and that they don't deserve respect, the only recourse is the traditional recourse. You know, a few of them said, well, because we brought you into this world, because you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for us. You know, we fed you, you know, we raised you, you know, we was the one who picked the cotton, you know, we were the one who was out there, you know, tilling the grass and doing the farmland and so forth and so on. Okay, the usual conundrum and excuses on a constant basis. The same normal things that, animals and birds would say, yeah, we brought you into existence because we are the parent animal who have protected you and make sure that you were here. Okay, I know what y'all going to say before you say it because you're not talking to someone who's inexperienced. So if ever you try to put on a comment box according to that discussion, okay, if you did it already, okay, there's going to be students who's going to laugh at you because this is a 3-page series. Okay, and you didn't wait to the end to say what you need to say. Read the whole book first before you comment. All right. This isn't about the fact that the generation's here because the older generation. It's no good if we have a distorted world that we're living in today. What's the point of doing all that work, of doing all the soldier protecting and providing, and you're here because we brought you here type of thing, and you aren't getting the proceed, you're not getting the energy, and you're not living your life at the best because your beginning was horrific because it could have been changed, it could have been made to the better. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying that the youth have an excuse to not succeed because the elders or parents didn't do their task. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the measure wasn't planned out properly, if you didn't do the best that you can do, if they are brought up in a generation like today, where there's broken homes, it's single mother parenting, it's a distorted nation, a sick nation at the same time, and there's no prosperity and men can't find virtuous women. Okay, what's the point of you saying, well, I brought you here, you're here now, but now you're in the land of suffering? Okay, that's not enough to say you deserve respect. Most people are going to respect their parents and grandparents anyway. That's a no-brainer. This isn't first grade, okay? This is discussion for adult people. So it's not about the fact that you brought somebody into existence and you're here because I provided for you type of stuff. That's basic. We're past that by now. We're talking about the higher level of thinking of providing the land of paradise, which is here, but it is not here because we was ill prepared. All right. So that should not even be in the discussion. Now, let me get back to what I was getting ready to tell you about this game and the implementation of the shaman language. Some of you have played a game called Metal Gear Solid, right? And I think it was probably Metal Gear Solid 5 or 6. It was one of the two. But in the scenario, of course, it was after Jack was on one of his missions and he was with his girl, Rose. But the scheme was for Rose to pretend as if she was, what's his name, Campbell's girlfriend, right? Campbell was an older man. He was protecting Jack and pretending to be Jack's girlfriend's husband to protect Rose and to preserve Rose for when Jack was done with his mission. Okay, that was a decent move of him. That was a good, strong card for him to do and sacrifice himself for the sake of another man. However, as you go through the studies of this particular scenario, the scene happened when Snake, he was the older Snake, remember, with the white beard, and he had on his army fatigue, and he was sitting on a table. He was talking to Meryl. Meryl was all grown up now, and she had her own PMC group, or her own military group, right? The 4 groups, and one of the guys' name was Johnny, who had diarrhea. Some of you remember this scene. All right, if you don't, ask somebody who've played this Metal Gear Solid and ask them about it, and they will describe it to you. But make a long story short, when they was sitting down having their discussion, going over their plans of what they need to do to deal with Solid Snake and so forth and so on, Meryl began to act out because Snake said that he was there because, of course, Campbell instructed him to be there. Campbell was still the commander. And she said, Campbell, who? You mean my uncle? My uncle. And she began to berate him and degrade him and call him a womanizer, and that he was out of his mind. He was no longer respected. And she called him a pig and a womanizer. You know, she stood up and she started throwing chairs around, all all because in her mind, Campbell was dating Rose. She thought that he was doing that, but in all reality, she was thinking that he was actually with the girl. So in other words, they're telling you this is how women and your general people around you will react if an older man is with a younger woman on a general basis, and their reaction is just the same as Meryl. It may be in a video game, but they act the same way. They will call you the same thing. They will call you a pig. They'll call you a pervert. They'll call you a pedophile. They'll call you a cradle robber. They'll call you crazy. They'll say that you're sick. They will call you all sorts of things because the average person do not use logic, and especially with an emotional female such as herself, where they are completely disgusted with the fact that you want and you need, and it makes sense to have a young, fertile woman to carry on your legacy and for you to be with. And it makes only sense. Here's the question I always ask people. Do you want some pre-made spaghetti that's been sitting on your dinner table for 2 weeks, and then you eat it last week, hasn't been refrigerated, it's gone raw, okay? The noodles are hard, it's nasty, okay? Or do you want something fresh out of the pot? Do you want something that's new, good for you, and nutritious for you? They break it down, they put it in the water, noodles in water, and you fry the beef or whatever you put in your spaghetti, okay? That's what men want. That's what you need in your life if you know it's going to have longevity. Okay, you don't go to the store and you buy a pack of bread that has 2 days of expiration. It don't make sense. You're not going to eat the pack of bread that fast. And once it expires on you, the bread is hard. It's no good. Now, if you want to go deeper than that, let's say you want to preserve the bread for some of you who love older women, MILFs, and those who, you need to be with a woman that's your age. You're forgetting one thing. She got more experience than you. She been donkey dunking before you even could spell the word. You understand? Women have that advantage nowadays. They have that free range where they have more experience than you. You may be 32, they may be 27, but they still have more experience than you, and they can run circles around you before you even can turn 360. You understand? So therefore, you're already getting something that's already expired. So in order for you to preserve that, guess what you have to do with that loaf of bread? You got to put it in the freezer. That's right. You got to freeze it in order for your expiration date to extend at least a few more days, where you can eat it and it doesn't go bad on you and grow green mold as bread usually do. Go back to the earth or decompose, or you want to call it to be. Okay, that's real life. So when they're shaming you and they talk about, you're dating a younger woman because you love yourself and you love your future because you are a man, okay, don't argue with them. You don't need to worry about their shaming language. Just look at them for the average nonsense that we are accepting here in the country. All right. And in history and in facts, kings, people of all your, hold on, let me put something here. All your history, it was considered as acceptable and a normal because men and women at that time, they had long vision. Women weren't particularly generally about themselves. You got to remember, during that time, it was when mothers used to prep their daughters to be the next mother of the house, or the next mother of her shop, the next mother of her flower field, the next mother of her generation, whereas she herself will produce children. So she didn't get in the way of her daughter's destiny. She didn't get jealous because her daughter was getting all the suitors. Her daughter was picking up all the good-looking men, or the prosperous good-looking men. She promoted that because it didn't do anything but help the mother out herself, generally, over time. And some of you know this, but it was always taught and it was always well known that women had more experience than men in that circle anyway. Not as much as somewhere around the 1920s, 1930s. It's a variation now because women have outdone that field of donkey dunking. But according to that time, it was rather sporadic. But they used to think that women were smarter than men, that women had more intelligence during that time, and they grew up a little bit faster. Okay, they used to think that. So therefore, it wasn't somewhat of an unbalance for a 27 or a younger girl to be with a older gentleman, such as 40, and she may be 27, 28 or something like that years old, because actually it was a balance. And also with the knowledge that you should have by now, but a lot of people don't have it because we are programmed now. It was considered as a balance, because what would happen is both of them would get something out of it. He got himself a worthy, virtuous, and oftentimes virtual woman who was potentially good for his future and for his wealth and for his finances, whatever else he can, because she was worth investing in. Okay. So therefore he benefited from that. You know, she still has her youth and she's cute, whatever the story, whatever the stage is or his preference. Okay. Then you have her who's learning of life. She's trying to understand the world. She's still trying to develop. She's still trying to get better and be the best woman she can be. So she has this experienced man who's going to guide her in the right direction. I'm not talking about the exceptions to the rules where there are, your jerk type of people, or your guys who are considered as what you women, there's names I'm not going to say right here on YouTube, but horrendous names that you call certain men who are particularly controlling and just dangerous and, you know, want to hurt women, that sort of thing. Okay. Those were in their various forms as well. And somewhat that would, you know, bring fear to some of the other women. But on a usual basis, the idea was that he was a guiding light. The basic idea was that he was positive, regardless of those negative other men who distorted her and wanted to just, you know, take control and use and abuse, all that kind of nonsense that a lot of women believe it to be, because it's not that. In that time, it was that men just wanted to do right. They needed to create a home. They needed a farm. They needed to make a kingdom for themselves in one form or fashion. Okay. They need to build up their manhood and create a world for themselves. Okay. Infrastructure, business, list goes on. You know, I don't need to keep talking about that. Okay. So she benefited again, because she had a guiding light. She had a positive energy. She had somebody who cared about her. She had somebody who was wealthy enough to provide for her. You know, stability. He was smart. He had a little bit of wisdom, and he was like a figure in her life. Some of you may say, well, you know, father figure, whatever the figure was, it was a benefit to her because she had something that was stable, which is what women look for, a provider, which is what women look for, alpha, which most of the guys, they weren't necessarily alpha, but they were masculine enough and they were old enough to be able to protect her in the case of situation that she's uncertain. So he'll be there, work on the car, fix a flat tire, so forth, so on, bear her children, and really be the one to provide for them. Okay, so it was known. It was a balance, you know, not age itself. Age is never going to be the balance, and it's a silly way to think for your common world. As some people say, well, if you're 33, you need to be with somebody who's 33. That's not true. Because you got to understand that the opposite sex, the species now today, they have a different experience than yourself, and it becomes unbalanced because a blind monkey cannot lead another blind monkey. Okay, you're going to have someone who's going to step up. You're going to have a difference going on in order to benefit from it. Now, whether you like it or not, it's still happening. You know, there are young women who are with older men because they understand that the older men have a flashlight that can guide them through the darkness of this generation or through life. Okay, while you're bashing her and say, oh, why are you dating these older men? And what's going on with you? You got a daddy complex or something. Your daddy's not around. You're looking for a daddy figure in these men. No, it's just their basic instinct to find a man who is a leader, who is the potential boss of the field. And she can depend on him, whether she can close her eyes and rest and nest there. Okay, nest around him and his kingdom, and he will be the lion in the field who's going to take care of her. There is nothing wrong with that. Now, the problem is a lot of you men and some of you women have been feminized and have been deceived, and you have been encroached upon so much where you have lost that value and you forgot all about it, where you have allowed jealous women who are jaded. They hit the wall. They are your grandma or whoever else, older woman who cannot find love, will not find love, who's jealous of younger women. They're jealous of their success to where they had to create these shaming language, put shaming in your video games, men, on the animations, on movies, cartoons, wherever you go. There's always someone talking about, oh, this older man is with this younger woman. Oh, how disgusting. What is he after? Yeah, he's a danger. Oh, you got to watch out for him because, he's trying to use her and abuse her. That's the programming. That's the programming. All the while, this girl is actually living her best life. Do you understand? She's living her best life. She don't have to drop a dime on anything. All she got to do is to stand there, be the decent girl that she is, have some virtue, be youthful, be cute. Okay, do whatever the small tasks that he needs to be done. Very small things, cooking, cleaning, if she ever does anything like that or whatever else. But she's there and she's underneath everything that what most of you people are striving for in the face of America and life. You're striving for stability. You're striving for protection. You're striving for a future for yourself. And definitely you striving to be in a place of comfort. Who doesn't want comfort? What's wrong with this young girl wanting to be underneath somebody who's older than her that's providing comfort? Okay, you got to be out of your mind and you got to be evil to think that there's something wrong with that. But unfortunately, we have allowed evil in. And now we allow ourselves to be indoctrinated and say, you know what, that's just wrong. He's just he's a pig. He's a womanizer. Look at him. And then you want to degrade the woman or the girl for her decision that she's making. Okay, when she is living her best life, you ain't buying her Gucci bags. You can't put a ring on her finger. You can't buy her new shoes. You can't take her nowhere out to the mall. But this dude can because he is established. But you can't do it. Talking about the moms. Yeah, they want to sit there talking about, no, I'm not going to let my daughter. I would never let my daughter date no guy that old. I would never do it. But yet your mother's not married. She's jaded. She's with somebody who's maybe 2 years older than her, something like that, maybe even her age, or basically she's not married at all. She's not even in a relationship with anybody. She got to hang out and be all nice. She got to be the one who's on Instagram and Twitter trying to promote herself. She's the one who hate on other girls for looking better than her while she's trying to work on her cellulite, her wrinkles, and she's always in front of the vanity mirror trying to tweak and work on herself because she wants to look like the 22-year-old that she can never be again. But she hate on the 20-year-old because the 22-year-old is successful and y'all fall in line with it. Okay, and then she come up with the hateful programs and the deceitful shaming language, and all of you believe in it. Oh, it must be true. He's older than her. He must be after something. He must be hurting her. He must be, he's taking advantage of her, which is a very, very strong shaming language that you will hear commonly. He's taking advantage of her. How do you know? Look at the girl. She's glowing. She's walking around like she owned the world, happy as a Pillsbury doughboy. You put a finger, you tickle the belly in the Pillsbury's doughboy, just start laughing, giggling. She's happy as a Pillsbury doughboy. And you won't sit up here and say, oh, he's taking advantage of her. What's wrong with you? I want y'all to remember something, put it in your vocabulary, stamp it to your subconsciousness, to your synapses, and put it in your lexicon. Okay? Misery loves company, but bitter people hate free people. Misery loves company, but bitter people, dried out, done for, washed up, people who have failed miserably and know it to the core, hate others who are free and free thinkers, who are able to not be in their conditions. But they will definitely do their just diligence and harmful effects to do their best to program the entire society and everyone around them to appease to their failure, to appease to their lack of success, to appease to the fact that they have fallen off of the cruise ship. Okay? They want the whole cruise ship to stop and throw out a Boeing, a donut, or a rescue ship out there for them, even though they decide to jump off the cruise ship on their own with full consciousness and full choice. So you need to be aware of that. So when you hear these kind of differences going on, and I understand what you were saying, my emailer, okay, don't just ignore them. Keep on moving because you're living your best life, and she's definitely living her best life. Okay, it doesn't matter what people's opinions are, and it doesn't matter what they say. Okay, let them keep on speaking while you are living. Okay, just disregard what they say. Next a couple of gentlemen have asked me a question about religion. Very interesting thing, because religion is in a lot of our lifestyle. And the question is this: Dear Leon C. Morpheus, I mean to cause no guff with you, but I just have a question, and maybe you can answer it in a different light. Oftentimes you talk about, and I catch you when you say that Jesus don't exist. Is that what you're saying, that Jesus don't exist, with the things that you talk about as far as the mythicals, as far as the non-historical, and etc.? I just want to get an understanding on it, because I've been a believer for all my life. My family's been in it, and it's kind of different to hear someone say that what we have been taught wasn't true. Thanks for the good work. I agree to disagree sometimes, but you talk about some fiery subjects and you drop a lot of red pills that is giving me more good than it is anything that I don't agree with. So with a measure, I am still a supporter and I still understand you. Well, this was a big question for me, and I wanted to speak about it very carefully, because people are very sensitive about this, because we are living in a very sensitive time where people are sensitive about the wrong things, but overly react on the wrong things. All right. And I had to take a drive on this to see how I can present this to you, where you can at least understand, because we have several different perceptions and our vision is different based on our experience in life. All right. So I jumped in my Lexus 300 and I hit the highway and began thinking about how to put this together, because it's very big. And I came up with several easy things to comprehend with at least resistance as possible, because when you're teaching, you don't need resistance, you just need understanding. It's okay to ask questions, but you're not learning anything if it just turns into a debate of who thinks who's right and who's wrong. That's not how Morpheus operates. My idea and my focus is to get to the root of the issue, and actually to bring you out of the matrix, so you are looking forward for me to say something that's going to be twisted and different. You look forward to that. But not if you're not learning from what I'm saying. Then I just look like a madman. Then I look like a crazy person, and not someone who's trying to teach from an avenue of truth, but just trying to cause some distortion. All right? That's not my purpose. So I will tell you this, what I have thought of and understand from my experience, okay, and being a teacher. It's very simple, is that we are coming from several different worlds of perception on a vast scale, where you have to understand that we are seeking for something different out of life. We are all in our own way, personally, as individuals, we are asking something from the universe. And whatever that might be is either going to make you, break you, make you stronger, it's going to teach you, or it's going to cause you to dive deeper into the understanding of your religious texts